Changes to Network Rail company standards. As you're aware, we're in a 6-month moratorium period where the only changes to standards that are allowed to be made are for the immediate control of safety or the issuing of letters of instruction or another document which is called an SIN, which stands for a Special Instruction Notice. They are the only ones that are not covered under the moratorium. However, the preamble to the Network Rail Standards briefing this time covers what's going to happen in the future. I have no advanced information of this other than being able to read out to you what the actual words that Network Rail have put in place. But it looks like the intention is to introduce a new control framework across the company. This is across Network Rail. I'll read the note for you. It says, "We have completed the definition stages of the new regime and the programme to deliver it. In essence, we will reduce the complexity of our working regime, i.e. standards, competence, business processes and specifications, through implementing a new control framework across the company. This framework will replace the current Network Rail standards with approximately 100 number rules applicable to all staff and suppliers. Compliance with the rules will be supported by changes to our competency arrangements and by better provision of information. Through these changes, we will embed simplified competencies designed around the risk of each individual role, role-based manuals which summarise the accountability placed on role holders and provide simple processes to support achievement of their obligations, risk-based decision-making processes which allow our staff and suppliers to feel supported and empowered in the choices that they make, and guidance material which enables our staff and suppliers to easily obtain assistance when they need it." It goes on. "We are now designing our implementation approach and the schedule for rollout. As part of this, we need to refine the risk models on which our rules are based, agree the executive rules through consultation across the business, and begin to develop the new format for the manuals and the information which support compliance with the rules. The future building blocks of the supporting information will be known as means of compliance, as they explain how to meet the requirements of a rule and therefore mitigate risk. During the rollout of this new regime, which will involve the targeted migration of information into the new format, the control of immediate safety or business performance instructions will continue to be communicated by, and this is the important bit, the issuing of letters of instructions or special instruction notices, which are national instructions for the immediate control of safety, performance or financial risk, or standards that require development and issue in order to describe the controls for the management of health, safety and environmental risks and the delivery of control period for business change commitments." So that's what the words say. As I said at the beginning, I have got no prior knowledge as to how this is all going to work out. I don't for 1 minute believe that the standards that we are familiar with for technical assurance, for designs and construction are going to disappear. I do believe that there will be greater emphasis on people's competencies. So for you people as CREs and CEMs, I am expecting that in the next 6 months to a year that there will be some further guidance from Network Rail as to how these competencies are to be worked out and presumably recorded. And I would expect that this would come in with the 100 rules. But what I would say to you all is, please do ask people from Network Rail if they have had any internal briefings on this particular subject, and if you could feed back to me what the changes, what they're expecting the changes to be and how it will be worked out. So I'm afraid it's listen to this space. So to move on to the actual changes to the Network Rail Company standards, there are some things that you need to know about, and I'll go through these now. There are changes to about 8 or 10 standards altogether. Some are withdrawn and some are amended. The first one that I'd like to bring to your attention is NR L3 INI CP 0078, and this is the standard that covers working on or adjacent to the conductor rail. So you guys down in the southeast, Gravesend, Rochester, that area, and all the team on Wessex, you need to know that this standard has now been withdrawn. But the information from that standard has now been incorporated into NR L3 MTC EP 0152. So you need to beware of that standard, get hold of a copy and have a look at it for yourselves and brief it out to your teams on site. So that's the withdrawal of one standard on working adjacent to the conductor rail and the provision of that information within a new standard. The next standard, which is a change, is the series of standards on plant. This is mechanical plant operated on or about the railway. It's a modular standard, and the generic number for it is NR/plant/0200. So this manual covers all Network Rail functions, and it's applicable to all Network Rail functions and contractors when using on-track machines, on-track plant, portable and transportable plant, and here's the killer, mobile plant and road vehicles. This is a modular standard, and there have been a whole number of changes to the modules within that standard, and I will come on to that later under the specific one, systems of work. There was a reference standard that has been rewritten and is now included as module 519 as part of the infrastructure plant manual. So it's a very important series of standards, these. You need to get to grips with them. They cover all the operations of plant and equipment on the infrastructure, the testing requirements and certification for that plant and equipment before it comes on site, the certification of the operatives and the duties of the operatives, and association, people who are acting as machine controllers. So if you haven't looked at this series of standards before, then please do so. Another standard that has been withdrawn is NR PRC MPI CI 0058. This is the one entitled Controlling the Risk of Earthwork Instability During MP&I Civils Excavation Works. It's one that was produced in about 2007, and there was a subsequent work instruction issued with that, 045. This is the standard that requires, it defines where the track support zone is. There's a diagram of that in there, and also with the work instruction 045, it defines the monitoring requirements for track adjacent to where we're doing excavation work. The standard has been withdrawn, but the principles have not been withdrawn in any way, shape or form. The briefing note says that the information on controlling the risk of instability of excavation during construction works on the line side is now covered in the contract requirements technical on each particular scheme. So whilst that standard, the 0058 standard, is withdrawn, the information should be now contained within the CRT. As far as I'm concerned, we do not do anything different. We all need to understand where the track support zone is, and we all need to have in place sensible monitoring systems on the track which are commensurate with the type of work that we're doing. Just by way of an example, at Ipswich Chord we are monitoring a length of track of about 800 metres, where we are going to be installing a new switch and crossing unit, and also we're doing embankment widening over this 800 metres, and we have established a manual surveying system where we just record track position both laterally and vertically each day, and that is compared to a baseline set of readings, and alongside that we have guidance notes on intervention levels and action levels depending on the amount of movement that we detect. And I expect that principle will be taken forward on all the jobs that we engage ourselves where we're excavating in the track support zone. For under track crossings, of course, we still have to do the same thing, but that does not need to be any more than 30 metres either side of the where the UTX is, because it's a localised effect. So just be aware, you'll need to advise your project managers that standard has been withdrawn. But as I said, the rules are now should be contained within the CRT. I expect it will take at least a year for that to work through. I wouldn't expect it to affect the current contracts we have within MAFA. It would be for new contracts which are outside the frameworks where I would expect to see that coming in. And as I've said, I would expect it in about 12 months' time. There's another new issue of an existing standard, 10661, signalling maintenance task intervals. We don't do signalling maintenance, that's done by others, but the signalling engineers just need to be aware that there is a revised issue of that standard. And alongside that, there is an accompanying standard 10663, which is signal maintenance specifications. That has also been revised, but again, that doesn't immediately affect any work that we do. There has, however, been a new issue to the Signalling Maintenance and Testing Handbook, SMTH. The changes to that are that it has had a full technical brief has been produced for this standard. So those of us who are engaging people to work on our behalf, who have SMTH qualifications, you need to check that they have received and understood the full brief on this standard. It's not immediately effective. We've got 6 months to get it sorted out. The compliance date is 7th of September this year, 2013. There are people within the company who individually have SMTH qualifications. They need to get up to speed with the changes. But when we're hiring SMTH staff, we need to make sure that they have got they've been made aware of the latest changes to the standard.